Grab a refreshing tap beer from just $5.80 with your mates at West Ashfield while you enjoy the blockbuster final weekend live and loud from their sports bar and lounge. The Australian Poker League, or the APL, they'll be running poker at West Ashfield from Monday to Thursday, commencing tonight, as in Monday the 12th of September, and that runs from 10 p.m. to 2 in the morning. So if you love your poker, I know my co-host Mr. Bashara is big on the poker, so if you love your poker, head to West Ashfield, Monday to Thursdays. Enjoy responsibly. West Ashfield, they are at 115 Liverpool Road, Ashfield. For more information, visit West Ashfield's website, westashfield.com.au, or give them a follow on the socials on Facebook or Instagram at West Ashfield. And welcome in to another episode of the West Life podcast. I'm your host, Josh Barnett. As always, we are sponsored by West Ashfield Leagues, best placed to watch, the semi-finals at the moment. Four pretty cracking games on the weekend, and it's nice to kind of watch other teams bash the shit out of each other without stressing about our West Tigers, I guess. But, so get to West Ashfield if you want the best place to watch footy in Sydney this weekend. And, of course, MG Pump Solutions. We're hoping. Shane said he's promised Monday night. I'm going to throw it out into the universe. Shane said next Monday night he's going to make time in his schedule to join us. So we'll see Shane before the season is out. As I said, previous episodes will go all the way to grand final. So plenty to talk about with West Tigers tonight. I thought it'd be, especially with missing Thursday night. Apologies to everyone for and Sean Bloor for cancelling that last session, but I still haven't fully recovered. I'm still a little bit under the weather and let's put it this way, I haven't had a meal of food in like 4 or 5 days. So apologies to everyone there. But moving on. If you can subscribe to our YouTube, shout out to everyone. Seen plenty of people live streaming us at the moment. So even in the off season, you guys are supporting us. Absolutely love it. And all the episodes are up there if you want to go back. Patreon.com/Westlife. Sending the boys and girls vinyl stickers tonight this week. So I've got some stickers printed, gone to the printers. So some free stickers for the Patreon members. If you want to join us in the Discord, patreon.com/Westlife. And follow us on the socials at Westlife Pod on Instagram and Twitter. Righto. End of season survey. We'll get into that after a bit of news. But, boys, I haven't spoken to you in a week. Sorry about that. But, Rob, you were a bit under the weather previously, but you're looking pretty handsome. You've got the camera back on tonight. You're actually looking pretty fit as a fiddle tonight.
Thanks, Josh. Hope you're feeling a lot better, mate. Not fully recovered, but on the way to getting very, very healthy. I've made a few big changes in terms of my eating and what have you, my health. So it's going a lot faster than I thought, and I am just a man on a mission right now.
Giving up the bread, I hear. It's 3 weeks. I saw the doctor. Doctor said, now or never. You either make a move now or you don't. Said to drop 26 kegs, to be brutally honest. Wow.
And I've already lost 10, and it's been 20 days.
That's
So
crazy. That's insane.
eating healthy, walking. I've just never had a willpower like this. So I'm trying to use all the negativity and turn it into some positive energy. So
Yep.
yeah, it's all going good so far. And hopefully I'll be close to my, well, I'll be at my goal weight by March, I reckon, but I'll be bloody close by the end of the year, hopefully. So
Ready for pre-season training with Tim Sheens.
Yeah, well, they're looking for a halfback. I'll be ready to play halfback by then.
And as all rugged up still. Is it cold out in Orange still? It's actually not too bad in Sydney. So a little bit breezy in Sydney, but Orange still pretty cold. You got the M&M get up still on tonight.
Yeah, it is actually. I think it's. I checked my phone not long before we went live, and it's only 6 degrees out there, but feels like 4 or something because of a breeze. So it does tend to stay cold out here for a little bit longer than I'd like it to. But hopefully within the next few weeks, it starts warming up, and I don't have to go to bed looking like an Eskimo every night.
Get yourself an electric blanket. I haven't used one of those since I was a kid, but I think I need one handy out there. Get into some news. Plenty's happened in the past week. We kind of just planned to did a poll, and that's it tonight. But there's a few things to talk about. Firstly, the stadium plans for next year. So the club, they haven't announced what they're doing, but they've come out and said basically the Soccer World Cup, or the Women's Soccer World Cup, or football. Sorry for it's offensive to say soccer now, isn't it? The Football World Cup for the women next year. It's going to take up Leichhardt Oval and possibly Campbelltown Stadium. So that starts 29th of June. So basically the West Tigers were thinking about going back to the suburban grounds, and now during that time, for at the very least, Leichhardt Oval is off. Yeah, it's basically going to be a training facility for the girls in the football. It literally says, simply put, this is in the West Tigers news story. Simply put, West Tigers will not be playing home games at these venues during this period. So, in our poll, we talk about a bit of a teaser for later. I talk about home grounds, and suburban grounds were by far the most popular in those answers. So, Rob, is this? I mean, there's not really much we can do about it, but yeah, what do you think the club will do in terms of where they'll play during that time? I guess in the middle of winter.
Well, I guess if we can't have our both our home grounds, I mean, I don't know. Does that mean we get all our home games at the start of the year and then miss out the back half of the year? It's going to be a bit weird. But I guess if we can't use Leichhardt and or Campbelltown, then we're probably going to do what we've done for the last 10 years or so and look for some financial arrangement with Combank or one of the other grounds, maybe Accor or something like that. Whatever you call the SFS these days. So, yeah, I guess
Allianz,
Allianz. I guess we're just going to have to move somewhere else. But hopefully, we can get some, financial remuneration for it and make it worth our while.
Yeah, I feel like it might be a call / Homebush. What do you think, Az?
Yeah, I agree. I think they'll probably go with a core, since we were there before, and having stopped the renovations and everything, I don't think it would be a terrible idea to go back there. You kind of get a bit of an emptier stadium, but you can still fit more people in there than you can in Combank, and it's not too bad to get to and from. Traffic can be a bit of a pain in the backside at times, but the car parks there, like multiple car parks, make it a lot easier to get into and out of than the other stadiums do. I was at the SCG for the Roosters game, and they've really only got that car park off of Driver Avenue, which is not a whole lot. And if you don't get out quick enough, then you can really get stuck in a log jam. So,
are you still parking on the?
Means more options.
Are you still parking on the grass on the cricket field for Moore Park?
I don't know if it's the cricket field, but it's you come off of Anzac Parade and into Driver Avenue, and then there's the car park in there.
Like on the grass, yeah.
Yeah.
So they spent all that money on a stadium. They didn't build a car park.
Pretty much.
Yeah. You know what? I understand that people don't do. I'm not an engineer. I don't know if this would actually work. But when they build a stadium from brand new, wouldn't it make sense to build a car park underneath the stadium? So when you get out of your car, you get in a lift and you're straight up to the stadium. Like, why can't we do that with shopping centers? Maybe it's too much weight. I don't know. I'm not an engineer. Maybe that'd be too much concrete or something. But someone a lot smarter could probably shut that down. But yeah, the fact that I guess they're just relying on people to get the light rail and buses to the ground. But yeah, I can walk to Homebush. So selfishly, I hope they do play at Homebush. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But yeah, I think come park at my place. I think it'll be Homebush because we don't want to play at I can't see us playing at Parramatta. They want to get out of there, but we still want to play in Western Sydney. I don't think when we did play at the SFS during our glory run in 2010, 2011. But yeah, I think this is pure hunch. I have no intel or anything, but my guess would be Homebush. So it's also, Angus said, as you said as well, the parking, but it's also the easiest to get to from anywhere in Sydney. The M4 links up to the M7, so no matter where you live in Sydney, it's pretty easy to get to. So we'll see what happens there. The Kelly Barnes Awards were last week, I think. What was it?
Tuesday night. It was.
Tuesday night, wasn't it? Yeah. So the awards given out. So Joe Offengowie won the Kelly Barnes Award for Best Player of the Year. Dane Laurie won Players Player. Fanua Pole won Rookie of the Year. Luke Garner won the Wayne Pearce Community Award. New South Wales Cup Player of the Year was Tom Freebarn. Nevada George was Harvey Norman Player. Keely Brown was Harvey Norman Players Player. And Scotty Prince and Pat Richards were inducted to be life members. Yeah, so I hope everyone had a good night there. So, yeah, saw plenty of pictures of everyone doled up. Actually, don't even know what. No, was that at La Montage again this year? Don't even know.
Probably
I should
was.
look. Yeah,
probably was. I don't know, but it probably was.
I should have looked at that, but yeah. But in other news, Rob Stradamus, you called this one, I reckon, on the show maybe 2 months ago. David Ferner confirmed to the coaching staff from next season. So yeah, about 2 months ago, you reckon, Rob? It was at least a month ago.
Probably 6 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Look, at the end of the day, forget David Ferner's record. It's just if Tim Sheens wants to pick who he wants around him, then he's got his man. So as long as Sheens is happy, I guess we just have to be happy with it.
Shouts JM445. I forgot to mention Junior Polgar was New South Wales Cups player. Thanks, man. That's why live show is so good. People correct my mistakes live. Jock Madden is going to the Broncos, not the Panthers. So it was pretty much a done deal to go to the Panthers. This was a very, random thing. I think it broke Friday night, possibly. But did this catch you off guard, this news about Jock not going to the Panthers and instead going in the state?
Yeah, it does. Like you said, it seemed like it was a done deal. Like he was going to be there playing behind Cleary. But then I started thinking about it and I kind of thought, well, it kind of makes more sense to go to a club like the Broncos. Don't know how far away Adam Reynolds is for retiring, but if you go to play behind a player like Renault, who's getting towards the back end of his career, then potentially less waiting time before you take that player's place. Because if he went to the Panthers, he's guaranteed maybe 4 games a year, 5, maybe 6 if he's lucky.
And Cleary's not going anywhere.
Exactly. So it does make a bit more sense for him to go to a club where he's more than likely to maybe not get that much game time in the short term, but in the long run probably works out better for him.
Any thoughts on this, Rob?
I think it's the perfect move for Jock Madden. Absolutely perfect move. Reynolds is on his last contract. There'll be times as well that Reynolds will be out injured or concussed or whatever the case may be. it grooms Jock under a great halfback as well, and he'll be prime by the time first grade comes around. So I was shocked by the move, but instantly when I thought about it, I thought, well, as Aaron said, like he's going to be behind Cleary for what, another 10 years. It makes no sense unless Nathan comes out with a TikTok video or body slams another player. He's not going to miss any games except Origin. So good for Jock, and I wish him all the best.
Yeah. And
Adam Reynolds has 2 years left. He's off contract after 2024.
Yeah, that's it. And that's probably the end of his, run too, you'd have to say.
Speaking of injuries, so Jacob Little was reportedly going to the Dragons, but it's come out tonight that apparently there's a rumor that he's failed his medical testing for the Dragons. So he may actually, in fact, be still contracted to the West Tigers. And by the sounds of it, if that's the case, Rob, no one is going to be on our books no matter what. So poor Jakey Little can't take a trick. But my thoughts when I read this was, did the West Tigers know about this and this is why they're trying to get rid of him, or have we just completely missed something with Jacob's health?
Oh, look, we'd only be speculating, Josh. Perhaps the Dragons' medical tests are different to our medical tests. What I would ask is, why did we extend his contract if he's failed someone else's medical? Like we extended it, a year ago? So it's a little bit disturbing, but, like I say, they might have higher standards in their medical testing to ours. I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but, I mean, he plays first grade, he plays New South Wales Cup, he seems to get through most of the game. He doesn't hobble or anything like that. So I'm just curious if that failing of the test is to do with his knee or whether it's to do with something else. But look, if he's failed their test, I guess he won't pass any other club's test. So we're stuck with him. But it's interesting because, we've got Rua there. We're probably going to extend New Brown, hopefully. So I just feel like he's going to be sort of stuck in New South Wales Cup, unfortunately, for him.
As your thoughts on, there's a lot of hookers on our roster at the moment.
Yeah, like I said to you guys off air, apparently you can never have too many hookers. Yeah, I just don't know how he'd fit into the team going forward. Like Rob said, he mentioned a couple names there, and then you've got Simpkin as well. And yeah, it's a lot of depth in a position that doesn't need as much depth as we seem to have. I feel bad for the poor kid, but he has had that horrible injury run. He's had issues with both of his shoulders. He's had issues with his knees. And yeah, just, I don't know, maybe having Rob around the club in more of a coaching role might be good for him. He's probably the best hooker he's definitely the best hooker the club's ever had. So having him in a coaching role more than what he's been doing this season might be good for Jake. I don't know. I'm really unsure about how the whole thing plays out, but it's a bit of a shame we couldn't get him off our books and maybe spend that money trying to get another player in a different position.
Would you think, guys, if we're stuck with him, that means we're definitely getting rid of Jake Simpkin? Like, because as you said, Aaron, too many hookers.
They're probably going to have to try to be honest, because I don't think they want to get rid of Rua. We haven't re-signed New yet, have we? But we're trying to. Is that what you said before?
I feel like, he's obviously New has made his intentions clear that he wants to stay at Tiger. So I would assume.
And the rumor is that's going to get New Brown is going to get a deal.
You think he would? His efforts have been good. Even playing it like undersized, he still gave a wholehearted effort there. So I think New Brown's definitely done enough to say he's warranted in our squad. So I think New Brown will be, playing deputy to Appy next year for sure.
And then there's Rua. Did we re-sign Rua at the start of the year or late last year or something?
He did get extended, I'm pretty sure. Cool little comment on Facebook, Grant. Had a mate message me today. He was at a cafe and sitting next to him were Benji, along with two other people having a coffee and chat with Tyson Frizzell. I know they're mates from when they played at the Dragons together. I would love Tyson Frizzell. I know he's on his last legs, but I think it's even. I think he's better at the moment than even James Talmel was when he came to us. So, yeah, what would your thoughts be on getting Frizzell? We kind of touched on it a couple of weeks ago with a rumor, but that'd be a good little signing for us, as.
Yeah, it would be. We definitely need a bit more depth in the forwards. Having lost the players we have, like losing Tamo, obviously he's a front row forward. Frizzell's more of a second rower. But we've obviously lost Garner, we've lost Kelmer, we lost Luch mid-season as well, and we're going to have Papali'i there, but we're also going to have Blore, but he's coming off an entire season of no footy at all, and that's not going to be easy for him to get back into it. As good as I think he will be for the club, I feel like we definitely need an extra player in that position because he's not going to come straight into it. He might have the off the bench role to start the season potentially, or maybe come back in reserve grade. So if we've got Frizzell, then that really bolsters the numbers in the second row in particular, and puts a bit of pressure on your man Blore to get right and have a really good preseason to try and prove that he's up for the spot after over a year of not playing any footy.
Shouts to Carla commenting in the live stream. Happy birthday, Carla! Watching us on your birthday. I think there'd be better things, the way to celebrate your birthday, but we appreciate your support as always. Right, a last little news that dropped, I guess. It's just an article on News Limited by Brent Reed, David Riccio, and Michael Carey. How do you pronounce his name? Carrianis, thank you. It's just kind of like an end of season West Tigers review thing, but they got a quote from, I'm assuming that they got it. So normally when an outlet gets a quote from someone, they say told and they quote themselves, but they just said. So I'm not too sure. But this is literally the only place I could find on the internet that had these quotes from Lee. Which is what makes it actually interesting. So Lee said, we can't put any positive spin on it, talking about as in this season. It was disastrous as far as results are concerned. I recently spoke at the Kelly Barnes Award and preferred my apologies and regret to all our stakeholders, including our corporate partners and fans and members. I think this year's results were inevitable in the sense that it was the nadir of the last 4 years. God, he's talking like Shakespeare. If you look at the last 4 years, we have gone 9th, 11th, 13th, and 16th. We have now drawn a line in the sand, and this is a line in the sand moment. We have taken stock of who we are, what our identity is, what we have to do moving forward. There is a massive injection of Tigers DNA into the club with Tim and Benji and Robbie. Benji has double J in there. If anyone News Limited is listening, you need to fix that typo. What we need to do is take one step forward on what may be a long journey, but we have to work our way out of this, and I'm confident we will. Rob Bashara, what does that all mean?
I'm not going to get into the Lee bashing too much. I've had a good little week or so since our season's ended, and I'm in a very good, healthy state at the moment. Look, he's totally contradicting himself there. If you go further in that article, Josh, he actually says they've got no regrets on the timing of sacking Madge Maguire, yet he says at the same time, we are not happy with how the results turned out. So I think the one truthful thing he said was, that he's sorry for the year and he's apologised. But why would you apologise if you haven't done anything wrong? Okay, everything that led to this. I know people say the players do the tackling and the coaches do the coaching, etc., etc. Every decision made by upper management has led to the place we're in now. We are in gradual decline since Lee took over as chairman. That's just a fact. Okay, since he's taken over, we've gone 9th, 11th, 13th, not 16th. 16th is sugarcoating it, Josh. We came last. And we got our ass kicked at our home ground in our last game, down 42-0 at halftime, like men against boys. So I'm very happy, and I told you guys this privately, I'm very happy that he acknowledges the fans, because there was a time earlier in the year he had an incident and he didn't acknowledge fans because they weren't putting their financial contribution in. So I'm very happy that he acknowledges the fans now, as well as his corporate buddies and all that sort of stuff. But it's just Lee being Lee. I mean, I just think we don't need to hear from Lee now. It'd be wonderful if the line is drawn in the sand. I hope we move forward, whether it's one little step or two little steps. But in terms of our footy guys, we need a roster overhaul. Tyson Frizzell, as you mentioned a few minutes ago, Josh, he'd be perfect for us, man. We've got a paper mache defence. We need a bloke with a bit of grunt. Even on ball tyres, he'd be better than what we've got. You put Frizzell in there and Papali'i and Blore. Like even Blore could go in the middle if he had to, to make room for the starters. Big Stefano there, Alex Twoll, who hasn't missed a tackle since Gary Jack retired. Like you start getting a bit of grunt in that forward pack. We just need to stiffen up our pack. That's the very first thing, because we just get rolled by every team we play. So I hope it is a line in the sand. I don't know if we've hit rock bottom yet, Josh, to be honest. But, unfortunately, look, we do have to all stick together. And the Lee bashing and the Pascoe bashing, it's not going to get us anywhere. But at the end of the day, those two men have failed us, and they shouldn't be part of our club anymore. They just haven't been capable of getting success. And this Tigers DNA stuff, that was a last-minute flip because we lost Serraldo. So I really don't have any faith in them. I feel like it's their Hail Mary trying to find success. I'm not a fan of Sheens, but I'm going to support Sheens, Benji, and Robbie. I hope they do well. I hope Sheens is gone sooner rather than later. But it's definitely a long rebuild, guys. If we don't find the immediate players to make an impact, it is a 3 to 5 year build, and hopefully it'll be worth the wait. And I just hope we do the right things from the ground up and put the systems in place so that our guys know what they're doing when they come into first grade, and they're just ready to go and know what their role is and know where to stand in the field of play, from dropouts and the little basics. We just need to get all those 1%ers right. But hopefully it's onwards and upwards, guys. But, as Aaron jokingly said last year, we can go down a step next year and end up 17th. So it might not be rock bottom yet, but I'm just not going to take my footy as seriously as I've taken it in the past, guys. I just want to enjoy it a bit more and be more of a general NRL observer, because I've been hurt too much by what this club has put our whole supporter base through. And look, I've personally attacked them, but the personal attacks back haven't been great for me as well. So, we'll just see what next season holds.
Yeah, I think I still feel like next season will be better, purely based on who we're missing from our squad this year. I still...
Well,
I think we've hit rock bottom.
Let's hope it's better, but there's no guarantee that we'll make the 8. As I said last week, I think in our 11 finals that we've missed, the Wooden Spooners made, the finals once out of 11. And, it's a little bit of Sheens bashing, but I'm just going to be blatant about this. We won the premiership in 2005. We had the best team in the comp, and we didn't make the finals for the next 4 years. So
Benji's shoulder was part of that.
I get that, but we still had a few players change.
And lost Prince.
Scotty Prince left a year after that, and all that sort of stuff. But the point is, how do we expect Sheens to take a team from 16th to the finals when he couldn't take a team from first to the finals for 4 years in a row? So, I think, and the good thing that I'm accepting now is, I think as a whole fan base, we shouldn't expect any success the next couple of years, because Sheens has said it himself. He said it privately and publicly that we're 2 to 3 years away, and Sheens is going to be coach for 2 years. So it is going to be a slow build. I just hope as a supporter that we get a bit of resolve in our defence. We don't get these 42-0 half times and 72-6s or whatever they were against the Roosters. And we get our moments like the Hastings winning field goal and the Brooksy winning field goal. And we just get a few more of those good moments to get rid of all the bad stuff, because it just makes it a little bit more tolerable. But the ultimate goal, I just want to go in against every team knowing we've got a chance of winning it. And right now, it just seems miles away that we could say play the Roosters, for example, who got knocked out basically 7th. I don't think we could play the Roosters next year and stand a chance of winning unless there's a big change in that attitude, that team, and the performance. So look, I hope it all turns around, but if it doesn't, it doesn't. And just finally, happy birthday, Carla. You've been a great supporter to the show and me privately and everything like that. So hope you had a great day and wishing you many happy returns.
Righto, we'll go on to the title of the episode, on to our poll. So we've had 115 entries. So thank you to all 115 of you, including the two men on the show tonight. I think you guys submitted answers yourself. So first question off the top was about Coach Michael Maguire. So we had a similar question last year, whether or not, and he had a lot of support then. So the options were shouldn't have been sacked, should have been sacked at the end of 2022, should have been sacked at the end of 2021 or earlier, or unsure. So with 47.8% was should have been sacked at the end of this season, so should have been given at the end of this year. 28.7 said should have been sacked at the end of 2021 or earlier, and then 17% said shouldn't have been sacked at all. So that's what, if I add those two together, about 64% were pro Madge, and then 28% against Madge. What was your answer here?
Yeah, this one was a tough one for me. First of all, happy birthday, Carla. You've been around for a while, and I'm glad that I get to chat with other supporters of the show and the club like you. So I hope you had a fantastic day. Lucky there were no Tigers to ruin it for you, but then you come and spend your night with us. So we
Beauty of being
appreciate
a
it.
September baby.
I'm a March baby, so I'm at the other end
Yeah,
of the
me
season.
too.
I get my birthday out of the way just before the season starts.
Yeah, I'm usually around round 3, or sometimes Easter. So so it can go either way.
2018, I think it was, my birthday was on the day of the season opener, which I believe was Dragons versus Broncos. So that I think it was that year. Anyway, back to the survey. Obviously, everyone knows last year I was pretty pro Madge. I love the bloke as a coach. I think he's the sort of bloke the team needed to have around. But when I was reading the survey, after suggesting this be a question in the survey, I settled on unsure. And the main reason why is because I was tossing up between two different sort of ideas. I felt like he deserved to have the chance to coach the blokes that he had signed for next year, but in the same sentiment, the results just weren't coming. You start the season 0-5, and obviously it's a lot more on the players than it is on the coach. But the noise doesn't die down around the coach if the club doesn't start winning. Obviously, we continue to not win after he was sacked, but I don't know. I feel like I'm really on the fence about it because I can really see and get behind both schools of thought. I always wanted him to have the chance to coach the guys that he signed for next year, but we really needed better results than what we got, especially in the first half of the year.
Yeah, good comment from, where was it? Benjamin, saying that his sacking ripped the heart out of the team. And I agree with that. I think on a personal level, the guys in the team that loved him and that happening definitely had some sort of mental toll. Plus, the season was already finished, so you do that to them when they've got nothing to play for, then that kind of just spiraled. So whether it's the chicken and the egg sort of situation there, but yeah, in hindsight, maybe, and I think Rob might agree that in hindsight, maybe the end of last year at a clean start would have made more sense. Because we're hearing things too. We've talked about in the show how Latrell basically was scared off his contract because he didn't want to play for Madge. I even heard a whisper that Papa Lee was actually worried about playing for Madge as opposed to the excuse that he apparently made up in terms of Madge being sacked was an excuse to get out of the contract. Apparently, it was actually the other way around, that they had to convince him to play for Madge. So, on a human level, as you said, as he was a good bloke, but I guess in hindsight, maybe he wasn't the person for the job. What's your thoughts in hindsight, Rob?
Oh, Josh, I've got so many differing views on this for multiple reasons. I voted the end of 22, okay, that he should have been sacked. In hindsight, he should have been sacked at the end of last year, 100%. And I've got multiple reasons for that. One, he wasn't supported by our management. It was pretty common knowledge from within the club 4 to 6 weeks prior to his sacking, which is basically the start of the year, that we were looking for the development coach. So I could be wrong here, but I feel like he got a stay of execution because we couldn't land Serraldo at the end of the previous year. I agree with the comment about it ripped the heart out of the team, because from that aspect, you got a guy like Maguire. The thing I loved about Maguire is he actually got what it meant to be a West Tiger. He really got it. Like, from a guy that coached South, he just absorbed what it meant to be a West Tiger. And, well, to me anyway, because his passion was how I feel. Like, the way he watched the game as a coach is how I watched it. But I accept all the points that have come up on the screen, Josh. He's, the way he used our subs was terrible. The way we adapt our game plans were terrible. There were quite a number of things with his technical aspects of coaching that weren't good. I've heard from within the club, he didn't delegate. He wanted to do everything himself. And this is like, even with stuff that's totally out of his boundary, he just didn't let people do their jobs. He had to have a hand on everything. So if I like, with the benefit of hindsight, we should have got rid of him in the last year. Okay. But I supported the guy. I wanted him to keep going. There is that aspect that he couldn't attract players. I'm assuming he was fine with Appy, but it was our previous football director that got sacked at the end of last year. He's the guy that his relationship with Isaiah Papali, his manager, is what secured his services to the West Tigers. So, look, I have mixed emotions. I feel like all those answers were right to a degree. At the end of last year, when you asked in the survey, will Michael Maguire be the coach at the end of this year, I actually wrote unsure, because I just knew that if we got off to an 0-5, 0-6 start, which we actually got off to an 0-5 start, that he was gone. And I felt that. But even after we'd won those couple of games in a row against last year's grand finalists and semi-finalists, I was still being told Madge is gone. And I just thought, how can a coach work for an organisation and, just not, his future's not secure no matter how many games he wins? It just really didn't sit well with me. And I think the other thing in terms of our season going apart, Josh, when you sack, as delusional as Maguire might have been that he had a great squad because he believed in his players, that when you sack the coach who believes in those players, then you're basically indirectly sending a message to those players, you're shit. You're not good enough. We're not happy with you guys. And then it all unraveled from there. We had, Luciano Leilua tanking, and, we obviously took the benefits of getting rid of Luch and getting rid of Noffer and getting rid of Gildart for all our salary cap thing, which is fine. But it just unhinged the season totally, guys. We lost a few games in a row that we should have won easily. Manly and New Zealand and Canterbury and stuff like that. It's I don't think we had to go through that pain, Josh. So I'm a big believer in, if Madge had to go, it shouldn't have been mid-season. That is the one thing that, like, what was absolutely wrong was sacking him mid-season. No one won out of it. We didn't even secure our next coach at that stage. Everything that's happened since is just a bloody fluke. It really is. It's just been mishmashed together, and West Tigers DNA, 3 blokes, this is where we're going. And but in effect, we've got an NRL coach that hasn't coached for 10 years, and we've got 2 blokes that haven't coached an NRL team in our lives, but they're West Tigers DNA, so we've just got to put our faith in them. But I just think the whole thing was a terrible year, and it's a reflection of our organisation. There was just no careful planning. And I know you have to adjust on the run sometimes, but it absolutely unhinged our season. And I just don't. If you had a question, did the mid-season sacking unhinge our season? I think you'd get at least 80% saying yes, it did.
Yeah, that wasn't a question, but totally agree with that. So next question is best player in the back line this season. Someone only pointed out this afternoon to me, I actually left Jacko out of both. I think I meant to put him in both, and for some reason I totally forgot to add him in both. So uh, yeah, a pretty big guy to leave out. He's in the favorite ones. Like I put him in the whole squad list, but I think part of me was like, oh, I'll put him in the forwards, and then forgot him to put him in the forwards. But it was kind of hard because he played kind of 50-50 across the two. So Kemba Marlowe got 50% of the votes for best player in the back line. After that was Dane Laurie, 31% or 31.6. After that was Adam Dwayhe, 13.2. And then Naden got 4.4%. What did you vote for in our best player in the back line?
Yeah, I went Mamalo based on the games he played, the consistency he showed. I would have liked to have put Adam Dwayhe, but he didn't play as much as Kenny did, and Kenny was pretty consistent most of the way through. He had a couple of poor games, like the first one against the Sharks, where he just watched a ball trickle over the sideline, didn't try to pick it up or anything like that. Bit of laziness in there, but yeah, he was definitely our most consistent throughout the season.
Rob?
Yeah, I voted Mamalo as well. I think even if you put Jacko in there, you definitely would have got a lot of votes for Jacko, but I don't think he played enough games at halfback. And obviously he missed a few games with suspension and got injured later in the year. So definitely Mamalo for me. Adam didn't play enough games. I mean, he only started at 5'8" the last 8 weeks, basically. So, I think Mamalo, hands down, was our best back, even though Dane Laurie got our award as player of the year. But I thought Mamalo, hands down, he had a fantastic season. Very, very happy with what he produced.
Most improved backline player this year. This one surprised me a little bit. Kepa Owa won this one with 36%. After that was Kemba Marlowe, 15.8%. Naden, 14%. And then a couple of 9.6% Jock Madden. So, boys, that one shocked me a little bit. But I guess when you say most improved, it kind of guys like Mamalo, Naden, they're already established players, so maybe that's how people read that question. What did you put as?
I actually went and put Jimmy Roberts. I think I not really learnt, but took a bit of inspiration from Rob when we were doing the player reviews a few weeks back, and how Jimmy had improved this season and like comparatively to previous seasons. So yeah, I went with a very, very slim slice of the pie there, I think, which I actually didn't really think too much about Kepa Owa, because he had an all right season, but he kind of, I don't know, I guess it makes sense to say Kepa Owa, but yeah, I personally thought, thanks to Rob Stradamus over there, that I'd send my vote over to Jimmy Roberts.
What about you, Rob?
You'll actually probably laugh. I almost voted Jimmy Roberts, but I really thought about it. I thought, who's improved the most? There were quite a number that improved. No offense to Kapoa, but the only way was up for him compared to last year. So he could only get better, really. If he got worse, we were in trouble. I actually put Mamalo. I don't think Mamalo was that good last year. Like he's finished off a few tries. He still let balls go over the sideline. He was a late signing. He really hadn't shown much leadership. And I don't know if it was the captaincy thing or the 5-man captaincy that produced better results, but I just thought he was that elite that it still was a significant improvement. But I can accept all those others that have voted, for other people, because they certainly did improve all those other players. But I still went with Mamalo. I just thought he was that elite. I didn't think that much of him last year, to be honest.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Right, most disappointing player in the back line this season, poor Ollie Gildart got 41.7% the vote. 23.5 went to Brooksy. 16.5% went to David Nofaluma. So the two guys that got traded at the end of the season, basically, or loaned, sorry, not traded. Stafford Toller, 5.2%, and then Dane Laurie, 5.2%, which, 6 people voted for Dane Laurie somehow, even though he won our Player of the Year award. Rob, will let you go first on this one. Ollie Gildart got number 1. What did you put?
Yeah, I put Ollie Gildart mainly for the reason I know he came from English Super League, but he's an international player. So I was probably more hopeful than expecting, but I really was hopeful he would just be something special in the back line. He failed miserably, and I don't mean that in a bad way, because I actually think the guy's got enormous potential. I just think he really needs a coach that can sit down with him, watch a lot of video with him, show him how to read a block play, show him what to do, and also what he should do when he's got the ball in the clear. I just think he looked like a deer in headlights a couple of times when he actually made some clean breaks, in particular at Campbelltown. I remember a couple of different games, and he just took the wrong option every time. So I think the guy can play. I think he's got really good footwork. I just think he's got a lot of development to do. So if someone can really get their hands on him and sit down with him and work with him personally, I think he can become a really good player. But he was hugely disappointing because we need centres, and I think that's our biggest hole, and he didn't fill that hole, unfortunately.
Who'd you put as?
Yeah, I went Noffa, purely from a standpoint where it was the off-field stuff for me that just made it a pretty poor season from him. He's gone over to Melbourne. He's played a final now, but he still hasn't won one. It's really hard to see how much better that's going to have made him, but I'm very curious to see when he comes back the effect it has. I hope that he can be one of the more improved players of next year, with the off-field stuff as well as efforts on the field as well. He had a couple of really strong games, like the game against the Eels that we won, probably one of his better games. He's always going to put in some effort to score some tries, but the Nofaluma that we saw playing for Samoa in that rep round, we didn't see that Nofaluma for the Tigers this year, and to me, that was what was disappointing.
Yeah. I mean, people talk about that rep round, but he was playing against the Cook Islands. Was he it's hard. I think it's hard to tell when he's playing against that opposition. I get what you're saying though. Yeah, in terms of passion and that sort of thing. You made a pretty good argument.
But even for the Storm, Josh, he tried his ass off, on Saturday afternoon, but he made a huge error going for a bomb, tried to override Cameron Munster, and that basically turned the game on its head right there. He's got to play a lot smarter. There's no questioning how hard he runs or how hard he tackles, but he's just got to be a bit smarter about his play.
And another one of Canberra's tries was because he was nowhere to be found on his wing. He had come in so far field that his centre, there was nothing they could do.
Yeah, the wingers follow the centres a lot, though. So they claim these days anyway. But yeah, I hear you. But I mean, it was the same with South on the weekend. Tane Milne looked like he had an allergy to the sideline. Like he was standing right next to Campbell, like he was standing next to Campbell Graham, and Brewster scored on his wing with down a man. I just don't get these defensive systems sometimes. Seriously, you're a man up and they put an overlap on you. It's just ridiculous.
Another little thing I've noticed with wingers too, do you find them that because they're so good at the corner post now, a lot of them don't come back in or don't try and get the ball back inside? They kind of just see a lot of wingers going over the sidelines a lot now. Am I like delusional here? Or do you notice that wingers just and even when a center's running out of room, a winger doesn't know to come inside and take the ball kind of away from the sideline? No,
I see that occasionally. I think you also find too when they pin their ears for the corner and they look like they're not going to make it, you're seeing quite a few. For example, if someone's running to the right corner post, you'll see the right winger do that grubber kick inside and even for themselves, and you see that quite a bit. But it's pretty hard running away from your centre and then turning that ball back inside when you've got cover defense coming between you and your support player as well. So I think it, it's easy. It's easy from our lounge room, Josh.
Yeah, I could do it.
Couch coaches.
Yeah, I could do it. I did in Oztag. Best player in the forwards for 2022, 92.9% of the votes went to Joe Offengowie. Who was second? Luke Garner got 3.5%. He was the next highest, and then two votes for Twally, who only played half the season, and then Fanua Poles. Mum must have put in a vote for him, and same with New Brown. So pretty easy one there.
Yeah, for sure. He was the award winner, the Kelly Barnes Award winner for a very, very good reason. I kept saying it all through the season that ever since that Sharks game, that first one, he just put the team on his back. He carried us almost every week. It's a shame we didn't get that many wins for him. Even in the game where we got smashed against the Roosters in his 150th, he still played a pretty solid game. And yeah, he took on a much more of a leadership role in the forward pack. And now that he's re-signed, I'm looking forward to seeing what he brings to the team going forward.
Yeah. Do you expect Joe to go back to? He was our best forward this year, but he's probably going to change positions next year.
Honestly, I don't even know if he'll start next year if our forward pack looks how I want it to look. He's clearly the best forward. I reckon Twally would have given him a run for his money if he didn't get injured, for the simple reason that Twally was actually starting to show a little tiny bit in attack, and his defence is second to none. So, yeah, but it was hands down Joffa. Like, he was there all year, basically, and, led with his mouth, led with his actions, and, yeah, he was just, it was great to have him on board. Could have been a lot worse. I know we're still going to finish last, but we could have copped some drubbings without him there.
For sure. Most improved forward. So Fanua Pole got 42.1% the vote. How many games did he play by the end?
10, I think.
8 or 9.
Yeah. Okay. That's a fair sample size. I guess to go from being a reserve grader to a consistent first grader from your debut is the definition of improved. So Joe McGowie got 23.7%, 11.4% for New Brown, and 11.4% for Twally. Surprised that Swole got vote. I mean, he was good, but I guess it's easy to forget how good he was early in the year. But it depends how you define this question, I get. But Rob, who'd you put for most improved forward?
Look, I put Joffa just because last year I could have lived with or without him in the team. I felt like this year we couldn't not have him in the team. He was that vital, and especially from the leadership point of view, his hard running, his defence. I can accept that I might have got it wrong there, because when you think about it, Fanua Pole was totally untried in NRL, so he's literally got the only way was up, and he kind of made a name for himself when he came in. He was making consistently over 30 tackles, even in limited time, and ran the ball hard. We'll be better for it next year. So look, all the guys that have been mentioned have improved, but yeah, I might have got it wrong there. But I just thought Joffa went from a okay first grader to someone that he's a bloody good first grader.
Who'd you put?
I put Twal. I was one of the people who voted for Twally. Obviously, it's very difficult to improve the defensive tackling machine that he is, but from the standpoint of his attack, he came on in leaps and bounds. Like, he had an offload, he made pretty good post-contact meters in his runs. I really hope that next year he's in the starting forward pack and can improve even more, add another dimension to his game. I probably would have voted for Joffa, but I tried to not double up on players in this, because obviously I feel like it can be kind of easy to say this player was the best player this season. Because they were the most improved. So I wanted to try and shake it up a little bit by having a few different names there. So yeah, I voted Twally. quite like him. Mr. 99%, I think he is around the club, and I'll make sure I'm hashtagging try for Twal every game he plays next year.
Magic round next year, maybe ours.
Might have to do that in the preseason survey again.
Yeah. Most disappointing forward for 2022, Peachy, who I decided to put in forwards rather than backs. So, I think he played more games off the bench as a utility. So, Kelman Tuolagi not far behind him with 23.9. Stefano, if you an injury is disappointing. So again, it's how you read the question, I guess. And then 10.6 for Luciano Leilua, and I guess leaving the club is disappointing as well. 8% for Zane Musgrove. As who'd you go for in most disappointing forward?
Yeah, I went with the majority. I said Peachy. Back to the early season form, his comments that he made before round 2 game, I was just it really took me away from the player that he could have potentially been. He wasn't a leader. Don't know why he was in the leadership group. So I thought he was by far the most disappointing player in the forwards, and I'd go so far as saying the most disappointing player in the team.
Rob?
Josh, I cannot remember who I voted for. And what's worse is I'm looking at all these choices on the graph, and I still can't. It's still not jogging who I voted for. So I got no idea, guys. There were too many that disappointed me. I got big raps on Jake Simpkin. I don't think he lived up to it, although he had a great game against Para before coming off injured. Seyfarth, I thought, could be a lot better. He does try hard. He wasn't great. Obviously, Little, Musgrove. There's so many there, but I actually can't remember who I voted for, to be honest.
I could look it up, but that's all right.
It'll probably be a player I haven't mentioned.
Who's currently your favorite West Tigers player? Now I left off Appy and Papa because I wanted to talk about players that are here this year. But who else was it going to be other than Jackson Hastings with 46.1%, and then Adam Dwayhe 24.3%. In a distant third, Joel Fingowie 7.8%. 5 votes for Dane Laurie, 4 votes for Brett Naden. That's a little bit surprising, but Alex Twal got 6. Twal is pretty popular. I can kind of get that. What else we got? A couple for Pole, a couple for Brooksy. Good on you, Brooksy. 1 for Stafford Toa. Shouts. It must have been Stafford Toa's. A friend or a relative. He's giving him a vote again, but Ken Marlowe, a couple, Luke Garner 1, and a couple for Steph. So there's no wrong answer. Well, there's no wrong answer in any of them, but who'd you go for in this one, Az?
Yeah, I went the easy option. I said Jacko. I just love the passion he's brought to the team this year. He's spoken so candidly in all the interviews he's done. He seems wise beyond his years after his earlier incidents. Here in the NRL, I think the trip to the Super League really did him a world of good. He's come back a considerably better player, a considerably better person as well. So yeah, I'm really enjoying what Jacko's bringing to the club, and I hope he can stick around for a bit. He's already shown some pretty solid commitment to getting his knee right, potentially for the world. Or not his knee, his hamstring. Was it hamstring? Whatever it was, he's spent a lot of time getting it right, and he's already out of his moon boot. So I'm looking forward to seeing if he does get to play for England. Go Jacko. And I just say that the votes for Twally might have come in from the blokes over at NRL Roast. They seem to be on the Twally bandwagon over there.
Well, I hope they voted in our poll. That'd be nice of them. Rob, I think last year I assumed that you were going to put Adam, but you ended up putting. I can't remember who it was. I was assuming it was Adam, but it wasn't. Who did you go this year?
Dude looks like Dwayhe. I went Adam Dwayne.
Okay.
And I think it's just a personal preference, Josh. Doesn't mean he's the best player or whatever.
No, that's not what this question is. Yeah.
Yeah, a bit of it goes back to last year. I love the fact that he loves the team. I love it when we're doing well or going bad. He's trying to G the troops up, coming off at halftime and giving them a slap on the bum or whatever the case may be. I just think he loves the club, and and it's actually what bothers me is the fact that he still hasn't been offered a contract yet by the Tigers, and I know his camp are bitterly disappointed that he hasn't been approached yet. So I hope he's part of our club for a long time, but. He's my favourite player, but I get why people love Jacko, why people love Twally, Dane. I love Brent Naden. I said last week on the show, Brent Naden has just bought into this club and he loves to be a West Tiger. So I just want to love people that love the Tigers. That's all I really give a shit about, to be brutally honest. And all those blokes, they do love the Tigers, but I guess it's just who your fan favourite is. There'll be people there that love Noffa. There'll be it's just a personal thing. But yeah, I love Adam. I love the passion that he shows. He wears his heart on his sleeve. So he's my favourite.
Who was your favourite player growing up, Rob, back in the day?
Oh gosh, I'd be showing my age there, man. When I was about 4 years of age, you'll be hearing names you've never heard of. I love Bobby Smithies. I love Len Colleen. In the 70s, I love Wayne Wigan, Wayne Miranda, Greg Cox, Brian Lockwood, David Topless. And then you get to the 80s era, Gary Jack, Gary Bridge, Wayne Pearce, Ben Elias, Steve Roach, David Brooks. Like it was just the most Ben Elias. It was just the greatest era to be a part of. Not too many from the 90s. I like Bubba Kennedy, obviously like Ciro. But so many players I love, mate. Like it was just even though we didn't do great in the 70s, I love the Tigers.
For me, being I played footy in the late or mid to late 90s to early 2000s. Darren, and I played hooker, so Darren Centre was my favourite player.
Well, I got a good Darren Centre for you, Darren Centre story for you, Josh. So in the 2005 grand final, he was sitting in the seat directly behind me. And when Benji did the magical flick pass to Paddy Richards and Paddy Richards dives over in the left-hand side, I get this bear hug from behind and he throws me up in the air about 1,000 feet. And we had a good moment when that try was scored. And then I look over in the second half and suddenly he's on the field. He's worked his way seat behind me on the field looking for the glory. So, yeah.
It was very similar because didn't Keith Barnes... Didn't he retire the year before? He retired in '68, didn't he? The year before. So Darren Centre retired. Darren Centre retired in 2004. So I just thought it was kind of, ironic. It's not really ironic, is it? Coincidental, spooky. I don't know the adjective I'm looking for there, but just funny how they both Balmain guys kind of missed a premiership by 1 year. But
Tim Sheens tried to talk Scott Sattler out of retirement the year before, and so Scott Sattler had the chance of winning the comp with the Tigers as well, even though he won one with Penrith. So things like that happen. Yeah.
He also has the same birthday as me. It's another reason why I like Darren Centre growing up. Who was your vote on? No, I got you a vote. Who was your favorite player growing up as a Tigers fan?
My sample size as a Tigers fan isn't as great as you guys. I didn't really start following until 2014, 2015 primarily, but I was watching the grand final with Dad back in 2012 up in Queensland on the little TV he took with us while we went on a family camping trip to a caravan park up there. And I just remember being in awe watching, like little 12-year-old me was in awe watching Benji Marshall flick pass to Paddy Richards. And it was beautiful.
Benji, there'd be so many kids of that. I was an adult through the Benji era, but how many, I guess, kids that are 10-ish years, 10 behind me, that Benji Marshall, and how many fans he would have picked up for us. There'd be a ton of kids that would be West Tigers fans when their parents aren't because of him. And I've said it before. If we don't get some sort of glory, where there's so many kids that just aren't going to be West Tigers fans. Little Lachlan, he's one of a kind because he's loyal to his team. But kids just aren't like that anymore. They jump on winners. They follow other sports and they jump on players like superstars. They follow LeBrons. They don't follow a franchise, or they'll jump on Ronaldo and the soccer. They jump on winners. They kind of grown up in an era where they get everything they want through technology when they want it. So yeah, they're kind of not like us growing up. I sound like I'm old now, Rob, but kids jump on winners now. So, I mean, even when I was a kid, people started following Newcastle and Manly a lot in the 90s because they were good. I grew up in an area that was kind of in between Sydney and Newcastle, so there wasn't really a location attachment, but a lot of people jumped on the Newcastle Knights up on the Central Coast during that time. But
that's the big thing about home grounds, Josh. If you can get to see your team play every second week, you get an emotional attachment to it. So even if I said I don't want to follow the Tigers anymore, I couldn't do it. I've been to so many Tigers games, in the last 50 years, seriously, whether it's Balmain or West Tigers, it's ridiculous. And, you're talking about Lockie. Like, Lockie's blessed that his parents take him to every game. So even if he wanted to change, which he never would, he's too passionate. But even if he wanted to change teams, you wouldn't. Like, he's when you go through hard times, like what he's going through this year and probably the last few years as a supporter, is what for me as a Balmain fan, I went through in the early 70s. Like, I wasn't even in Australia in 1969. We happened to be on a family holiday, so I didn't even know that we'd won a premiership, and we didn't have things televised overseas and what have you. So all I knew was West Tigers coming last and being a little sook after every game and crying every time we lost and going through those hard times. So when we finally made a couple of semis in the late 70s and then had that what was a Balmain glory run in the 80s, like it just made it all worthwhile. But yeah, you're right. I mean, people that are just watching it on TV and get their fix from that, they might not have that emotional attachment. They might say, well, stuff this, I'm going to follow another team. Like, we haven't made finals for 11 years. So it's just up to how entrenched your roots are to following the team. But I'm a bit like what you're saying in NFL and NBA. Like, I kind of go with favourite players. I really don't have an attachment to a team because I haven't been at NFL games. I haven't been at NBA games. So it doesn't matter for me. There's no real deep feeling there. But
yeah,
but with rugby league, when you go to games, you just, it's tribal. You feel a part of it.
Yeah. I support all the Colorado teams through who I started going to the Nuggets and kind of just decided to jump on that city because I kind of like the underdog. Not that the Denver Broncos are really an underdog franchise, but I don't know. I don't mind. I don't see how people get joy out of like jumping on LeBron or jumping on someone and riding that high without like kind of going through the lows at first. So when people ask me who should I go for in NFL or NBA or something, I always try and think of a team that's kind of like on their way up. They're not at the top. Like if someone said, who do I like? I wouldn't say LA Rams or Golden State Warriors or something to follow. Like pick someone. When it comes to American sports, it's smart to pick someone in the West in terms of NFL because you don't have to get up as early in the morning. But pick someone. They're on their way up, and they're not like at the top because especially in American sports, they'll come back down again, and you'll be tested. But wouldn't you rather you want to go up that hill, not just go straight to the top? Like you kind of want to earn it. I don't know. That's what sport is for me. All Benjamin's a Detroit Lions fans. They might come.
See, Josh, for me, I love the 49ers, okay? Like I loved them all my life. I love the Joe Montana era. I love the Steve Young era. And then I was watching a 49ers game versus the Seattle Seahawks. And I was cheering for the 49ers. And by the second half, I was cheering for this little bloke, like 5'9" quarterback, undersized quarterback called Russell Wilson. And I just thought, I'm kidding myself. I actually want this Russell Wilson because to me, he was like the NFL equivalent of Benji Marshall. He just run around in circles and dodge defense. He was just like a
ahead of his time.
Yeah, and I just thought, I love this guy. I love watching this guy. So I started cheering Seattle. And now, as you know, Russell Wilson has joined your team. And I'll be cheering a bit for the Broncos this year, the Denver Broncos, because I love Russell Wilson. So, I'm not going to kid myself and say I'm a 49er when I'm cheering for the other team. And that's how I feel about Russell Wilson. I just love watching him play. So
yeah, he smacked the Broncos. The 2014 Super Bowl, he smacked us.
Yeah,
pretty bad. Kim said, started following Balmain in 66 and always follow the Tigers. It's in my DNA. So that's the same that you and I, Rob. Like the Tigers to us, Balmain and now West Tigers, it's a family thing. So both my grandfathers are Balmain, your dad's, like my dad's Balmain. So when it comes to, obviously, American sports, there's no family attachment for most of us. But for the Tigers, I've said it before on the show, the Tigers are family to me. So, yeah, I 100%, I'm a fan like Kim that, the Tigers is beyond a football team to me. Like my family and Balmain and West Tigers, it's like entrenched in our family. It's a massive part of it. Through my grandfathers, it's beyond being. That's why they'll always be. I love my American sports, but yeah, like the Tigers are just part of who I am because it's part of my family. So again, if you just jump on a winner, I don't know. I don't know. Everyone has their thing, but that's my rant.
No, you're right. I'm with you.
Who should be captain in 2023? Jacko Hastings with 51.3% of the vote, and Adam Dwayne 28.7%. Coming behind that, Jonathan Gowie 13.9%. Appy Coruscant 4.3%. I guess you could make a case for that. Papa 0.9%. Alex 12.1%. Who'd you vote for in this one, Az?
Yeah, I voted for Adam Dwayne. I'm kind of surprised that Jacko received more of the votes. I feel like, as great as a player Jacko is, and how good he's been for us this year, I feel like the future of the club is someone who's been with the club previously. Like we know Dwayne was a junior with us, and he went to the Rabbits and he's come back. So I feel like he'd be the better option. I wouldn't mind Dwayne captain, Jacko vice captain sort of combination there, so that while Dwayne's taking the conversions, then you've still got Jacko who's talking to the team and keeping them on track.
Yeah, I guess that's how you define captain. I mean, there's no reason why Jacko can't do that without a C next to his name. But I get what you're saying. What are your thoughts, Rob?
I voted Adam as well, as you probably know from my favourite player, little bit spiel earlier. But I tell you what, Josh, this would have been a really hard decision if I knew for sure that Jackson Hastings is playing halfback next year, because he's obviously, we're being told he's going to play lock. But if Jackson Hastings was the halfback and the man that's touching the ball more than anyone else except Appy, I might have swayed to Jackson just from a, I know, rugby league IQ point of view, because I think it's best if the guy that touches the ball the most should be captain. But the fact that he's going to play lock and might not be able to bust out 80 minutes, I don't know. I just lent to Adam there. But like I said, it would have been a really tough decision if Hastings was our number 7 next year, because I might have lent towards Hastings as much as I think of Adam.
Yeah, I mean, it's a person too. They've got to go to the press conferences and, cop the criticism and that. Yeah, there's a lot of off-field stuff as well. I think I'd probably go Adam, personally, but yeah, your answer's not bad as in terms of both of them, because purely it's hard to pick between the two. They both deserve. If they came out and gave either one of them the captaincy,
no complaints.
I'd be happy. Yeah. Speaking of which, who should be our 6 and 7 next year? So 70% of the votes were for Adam and Jackson. As Rob usually said, that is probably not going to be. Hastings is probably going to play lock. 20% said Brooks and Adam. So I guess that's assuming Jacko's playing lock, and then Dwayne was someone else, got 4 votes. Hastings was someone else, got 3 votes. And Hastings and Brooks got 4 votes. Who'd you vote for in this one, Rob?
Yeah, I went with the majority, and I'm sure both of you voted the same. Look, it's been something that the whole supporter base at least wanted to see how it worked, yet we're not going to get that chance. It seems like under any circumstances. So again, are we all wrong, or is Sheen's right? You know, because 70% is quite an overwhelming number, and we never got to see it once. And I just think they're the 2 smartest players in the club. That they're probably the 2 quickest thinkers we've got. It just would have been a great combination to see. And more importantly, I think it just protects Jackson Hastings' body a bit more by playing him as a halfback. He could still pick his moments when to run, but I know the claim is that he lacks pace. But as I just said, he's got speed between the ears. So I don't think we're going to see it, and it's just the way it is. We'll just have to see. Maybe the boys are planning on signing some gun halfback or sticking with Brooks. I don't know. I just don't get it, to be brutally honest.
The thing with Adam I've heard as well is the club's worried about his defence. I think we've talked about it on the show before, but like he's obviously against the Roosters is a big one that people think of, but I don't know how much you can put into analysing Adam, especially coming off his injury as well. Like when it's nothing to play for, coming off an injury, can you really put too much stock in what his defence was late this season? So I really hope Adam is re-signed and the club aren't silly enough to
that game you're talking about, Josh. He let in 4 tries probably, which is 24 points. There's still 48 points that were scored not because of Adam. You know, I know this is going to sound nitpicking, guys, and it's probably a bit on Kamali here, but when you go into a game and in the first 5 minutes you're 20 metres out from the opposition line and you grubber kick the ball into touch, like what were we instructed before the game? Like, you're going to lose. You're not even putting an attacking kick up. Like, we went out there with the most negative mindset. We were always going to be lambs to the slaughter for that stupid kind of strategy. So, you know, maybe he was a bit dejected, like he was not playing to how he wanted to play. I don't know. Like, it doesn't make excuses for missing tackles, but he had plenty of mates that missed tackles, guys, with 12 tries put on us in one night. And that was really the one bad defensive game he's had. I know he's missed tackles in other games, but Brooks misses tackles in games. I'm sure Jackson misses tackles in games. Like, they're halves. They're not meant to be executing tackles at a Alex 12 success rate. So I don't know what's to be expected, guys. I don't know. Like I said, Adams hasn't been re-signed yet. Jacko hasn't been re-signed yet. We're kind of in limbo there.
Who did you put?
Yeah, I went with the majority as well, Dwayne and Jacko. Obviously, I agree with everything Rob's said. We're probably not going to see it, but it does feel like it would be the best combination. And yeah, like Rob said, what they potentially lack in speed on the field, they make up for it with speed behind the ears and just the quick thinking, the things we don't see from Brooksy, or the things we've seen from Brooksy when he's been in the 6, they both have that in spades in those positions. So I really do hope we get them re-signed ASAP, because they are 2 of the pillars that we can really, really build this club around. If we've got a really solid spine next year of Dano, Jacko, Dwayne, and Appy, then that is that, with a few of our young forwards we've got coming through, is a good base to really build the rest of the team around.
Yeah, like I said, I think we can be. I don't think we're a premiership force, but I think we can be okay, decent next year, if we're healthy, with the roster that we should have, with a bit of money to spend. So, speaking of which, that was a good segue that I did completely by accident. Which position should we be looking to sign a big dollar superstar in with our current cap space first? So this one, a little bit divided, which is good. 26.1% said a prop, 23.5% reckon a centre, 16.5% said fullback, 14.8% said an edge, and then 9.6 each for a 13 or a half, someone in the halves. So I just put a halves rather than halfback or 5'8" because we don't even know who's going to play where. So I just left that as kind of 6 or 7. What did you put in this one, Rob?
I put centre. I think that's been one of our biggest weaknesses for years. I put that in the fact that I think Wahi's a good 6. I think Hastings could be a good 7. We've got Appy, in the spine, and even though Laurie might not be the fullback that we want, I'm a bit, I'm reserving judgment on Laurie a little bit, but that's not our weakest position. Like Laurie can do a job. So when I look elsewhere, to me it's centre, and especially if we're going to stick with Naden on the wing, which is just, there's no other way to describe it but plain stupid. I think we need centres. I think you find most great premiership teams have a good attack, but the centre can attack and defend at the same time. We saw what a difference on the weekend the Roosters were without Joey Manu, just without being there. Like they had Drew Hutchinson in the centres and they had all sorts of things going on there. So I just think centre for me, but I guess other people, will have other opinions, and that's quite a mixed graph you've got there, Josh. Like there's 6 pretty decent chunks there. It's not like one big chunk and 5 small chunks.
Yeah, it's almost a perfect pizza there. Yeah. I guess it also shows that we probably need to spend money in a lot of places. But what did you go with?
Yeah, I said prop. Losing Jimmy Tarmo as a really experienced front row forward, I think might hurt the club a little bit moving forward. We've obviously got Joffa there, and we've got a good crop of youngsters coming through. But if we had another player to fill a role in the forwards, even if it was as a bench forward, someone who could be a leader for the young core coming through along with Joffa, then I think that would be a really good spot to fill.
Yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it? It's you also kind of guess, look at the roster and who's coming through.
Exactly.
And don't want them to stand in the way of a young talent coming through. So,
Aaron, I don't think we're as weak in the props as you're suggesting there. Because if you put Joffa in that prop rotation with Stefano, with
and Sean,
Alex
Sean as well,
Alex Twal and Fanua Pole, just without moving back rowers into the front row. So just those 4 there: so Twal, Joffa, Fanua Pole, and who was the other one? Stefano. I think that's a decent prop rotation. Like we could certainly do with another experienced prop, but what I'm saying is we're not bad in those stocks. But I just look in the outside backs, like in terms of wingers and centres and stuff like that. I just think we're rubbish. I think there's no depth there. Like we've been playing Stafford Tar in the centres. He's clearly a winger or a backup fullback. He's not a centre.
And we could probably get what you said as for not big dollars. We might be able to get a front row rotation player.
There was the rumor of Fafita potentially interested in coming back. Could he have sort of a low budget pinch hitter role off the bench potentially?
He could. There's no doubt he could. He's done that with Cronulla this year.
Yeah, I for big dollars, you've kind of convinced me there, Rob, because I think I'm going to give a bit of a fence-sitting argument here. I think it's kind of it's who comes on the market, who can we get, and then kind of worry about it later, I guess. Like if to get a superstar, we don't really have the pick of the litter. So if we can sign a superstar anywhere, get them. I guess
it's the way you word that question, because the best thing to do at any club is if you can make your weakest position suddenly your strongest position, then that changes a lot of things for a club. It really does. So like if you desperately need a halfback in a club and you don't have a halfback, then you go and get Nathan Cleary. You've just changed that whole dynamic of your club around. And I just think our centre position, I do rate Brent Naden, but we absolutely suck. And really there's not much out there in centres. Like Joey Manu's locked up. Like, I'd love to get Manu. I'd love to get a Campbell Graham. There's plenty of guys out there, but, you know, the good clubs, they know how hard it is to get good centres that can attack and defend, and they're not going to let players like that go.
Okay. Your favourite game this season, 74.8% of the vote. Pretty easy one. I would have voted for this as well. The Parramatta win 21-20 at Easter. Second place, the Rabbitohs win, obviously, the week after, 23-22. They got 9.6% of the vote. And then third was beating the Broncos. I guess if you hate the Broncos, you'd vote that one as well. So they got 7.8. And then fourth was the bye. I don't know why
I did laugh.
I
did chuckle that you put that in there.
Because I put it in there because the questions were numbered by numbers. So I wanted to have, if I didn't put the bye, then all the round numbers, like there wouldn't have been the number of the round, if that makes sense. And I thought a few people will put a cheeky bye vote in, but and they did.
What are the two other tiny little portions?
The tiny little ones. We got one for the loss against the Cowboys,
but not really.
I mean, we should have won that, I guess. Yeah, if you count that as a win, maybe, and if you were there or something, if that goes the other way, if that game rightfully ends as our win, I think we might get a couple of votes, because in the situation that we're in, like we're in dire straits to pull a win, and like the Broncos one, they got 9 votes to pull a win out against a top 4 team. Yeah, would be. So not as dumb as it sounds. And then the other one, the 7-2, the Roosters game.
Oh gosh,
that's a joke. It's obviously someone having a laugh. Did you vote the same? The Para?
Yeah, I did. I went the Para game. I wish I was there, but in saying that, I promised myself I'd never go to any more CommBank games where Para are the home team, because it's just, I'd be putting myself through punishment. But I obviously wouldn't have this time. It was a really good game to watch, and that piece of Dan Ganane commentary as Jacko kicked the field goal, and the footage of Madge is, even though Madge is gone now, is something I'll remember for a while, I think.
Yeah, my hatred of Parramatta adds to this, but it's one of the best games I've been to live. I was glad that I was there to witness one, because it's a West Tigers moment that we'll remember forever. The fact that the crowd was probably only 10% Tigers fans as well, so our little section in the corner.
They would have loved seeing all the Eels fans going home salty after that.
Yeah, it couldn't happen to a better fan base. But Rob, did you vote the same?
Yeah, I voted the same, guys. I mean, look, we went into that game 0-5. I think Para went into the game 4-1. Sitting in the lounge room with my whole family, just basically conditioned myself to losing, not expecting much. And then when Noffa got that second try, and I think we got up 14-4, my ears pricked. I could hear the Rocky music. Welcome to Rocky Land. This is on the cards. And then that last final 10 minutes, it was, I mean, obviously winning was great, but the final 10 minutes of just feeling in the fight, feeling like we can do it, feeling like we can get up. And then when we got that field goal, oh, God, guys, that was beautiful. That was just so good.
And Moses ran out
screaming, hugged everyone, told the whole neighbourhood that we won. It was just,
I remember the footage
magical.
of that.
Yeah, your security camera. Yeah,
I just want more. I just want more of those feelings, guys. But I think, you know, the best part about it, it was totally unexpected. Like, we were $8 or $9 outsiders. So not in my wildest dreams did I think we could win. And as Aaron said, those reactions from Madge, I mean, I think I had as my profile on Twitter, Noffa and Jacko, you know, leaping about 6 feet above the ground, sort of jumping into each other. And it was just a magical day. And then we backed it up a week later against South, which I had the pleasure of being at. But that first win against Para was just after the start we had and everything like that. It was just beautiful. It was so special. And honestly, I think it's one of the best wins in the club's history. It really was. In terms of where we were, in terms of the noose around Madge's neck at the time, which got tightened a few weeks later anyway. It was just the most uplifting feeling I'd felt, and that's what you want to feel, guys. We just want to feel in the game. We want to get some of those great moments, you know. What's happened? Did I miss a comment?
The comment, Peter on Facebook, I got naked after the Para game. We're going streaking.
Not to remember the fact that we did the podcast after the game that night, and the mood and the vibe and the viewers and everything. It was a very, very fun night.
Yep. Yeah, that was really, because it was a Monday. Yeah, so we did it that night. That was a very good night. Right, your least favorite game of the season, 50% of the vote was the Roosters game, which statistically makes sense. Next was the North Queensland loss. I guess, I mean, we played so well in that game. I don't know to say it's the least of all the shit games this year, but there's no wrong answers. 8.8% for the Gold Coast lost. When Jock obviously fumbled the ball and that one got away. And then the last game of the year got 7.9% as well. 2 votes for losing to the Panthers at CommBank. Man, just going through these answers making me depressed, thinking about all the games that got away. Losing to the Eels 28-20. Got a couple. Losing to Dogs at CommBank. I won't go through any more. There are little ones here and there. But, I mean, the Roosters, the worst game in West Tigers history, but I don't know if it was my least favourite game of the season. What did you put, Rob?
I actually did put the Roosters, but I had a number of games there that obviously bothered me. But the Roosters one was just, it felt like I was shackled to the lounge and I just could not look away from the screen. And I'm like, you know, like, okay, we put a bit of resilience for about 15 to 20 minutes, but then it was just basically a point a minute. That game hurt. You know what? I'd forgotten about the Gold Coast game. God, I remember.
Yeah, so did I. I kind of blocked it on my memory.
I remember being devastated at the time by that. Josh, I actually agree with the Cowboys game, because I think the injustice, like, we actually went live later that night, and you, me, and Shane were on the phone for, 35 minutes screaming our lungs out at each other, like, how the fuck can we get ripped off like that? So from that rip-off point of view, I get why that's in the top 3. There's a couple of games that aren't mentioned there that I will mention that do bug me a little bit. Losing to St. George at Wynn Stadium, Wollongong, that really hurt me, because I felt like we killed them. Like, we smashed them in the forwards. We got a poor decision for a no try for Kelmer, and we would have gone in winning 3 in a row and getting back to 3 and 5 and getting into the meat of the season. And obviously the Madge's last game, from what I'd heard within the club, et cetera, I knew if we didn't beat South, Madge was gone, then, he was not going to be the coach. So that South game really, really bugged me as well. But yeah, I just feel from a finals aspect, if we'd have got that St. George win at Wynn, I think we just would have had so much momentum there and so much belief it would have changed things. And a couple of dodgy decisions really hurt us that day.
What did you put?
Yeah, I went the Bulldogs loss. We went into that game expecting to do pretty well. We had beaten the Bulldogs only 4 weeks before that. Just losing 12 in the first set of the game was extremely disappointing, and it kind of just snowballed from there. Not to mention, I had that really negative game day experience in the stands as well, which really, really soured my day. So yeah, from a personal and a game perspective, I was one of the 2 votes for the Dogs loss.
Yeah, I mean, losing a game that you should have. I mean, the Roosters. I feel like if the Roosters only beat us 60, even that's 7. That's 7. The 70 makes it feel so much worse. I feel like it was even in the 60s. Maybe we would have got less votes. Like, I had no expectations going into that game. I didn't expect it to have 70, but I was. If you had said we either lose by 70 or we win this game, I would have said, we're probably going to lose by 70. Like, I had no expectations. So that one doesn't hurt quite as much as the ones that, like the Penrith game we went to. Rob, you and I sat next to each other. It's just frustrated the whole game that we were playing against the Panthers reserve grade.
Yeah.
And we had them, and then we lost. And the game I went to with you as against the Dragons, and then we should have won. And just games like that frustrate me more than just a side that just gets some momentum and then just shits all over you because the team kind of gives up. I don't know. The games
to some people, I guess close losses would hurt more than a thrashing, Josh. I get that. But for me, with the Roosters in the last 3 games, I think on the podcast prior to the Roosters, I said, the way we're heading, I hope we don't have 100 to 150 points scored against us. And you look at the Roosters game, you look at our last game against Canberra, like we're trying to look for positives for next year. And you finish the year just going backwards, and you just think, how are we going to turn this around before the start of next year? Like, there's no magical cure. Like, it hurt me from the sense of hope for next year. That it wasn't just the 72 points. It was just like, where the fuck are we as a club? Like, that's what really got me. Like, we've had the head of football who's been announced coach is washing his hands of everything. And I just thought, man, we need some help. Like you said, if it had been 40 to 18, we probably don't whinge about it too much. But, man, they were just toying with us. They absolutely toyed with us. And it's just, I don't know, we just got to have, as a club, a whole club in every aspect, we've got to have some pride, like hurt, like really, really hurt, not be just, she'll be right and letting our hair down a few days after the season and say, it's just a game of footy. Because if that's the attitude we've got as a club, then let's just all not give a shit so much and just watch it and be blasé about it.
Moving on to what games did you attend this season? This will be interesting to see what games people went to the most. So the leaders were Leichhardt, Eels, and Dogs. Both got 34%. Ticked that one. Then Storm at Combank round 1 got 30%, and then a bit of a drop off to Rabbitohs at Combank and Seagulls at Campbelltown. So obviously the home games a lot more than others. Obviously 0 attended. Lockie obviously didn't vote in this. He's the only person I know that went across to New Zealand for that one. So yeah, so it's just interesting to see. Leichhardt games obviously sticking out a little bit there. So yeah, so a lot of people went to plenty of games this year and went home heartbroken. So where do you predict we'll finish in 2023? As you messaged me the other night saying I forgot to add 17th. So I think a lot of the 16 votes in this might have kind of forgot or just voted last. So, because 16th got 11 votes, although a lot of people seem a lot more positive. So it's spread out a little bit. So 14.8% for 10th and 12th, and then 13.9% for 9th, 12% for 13th. So around that, just outside the 8 spot. So anyone go top 8? Let's see, 9th. 6% said 8th. So sorry, 5.2% said 8th. Not a lot of faith. 7th, 5% said 7th, and then someone said 6th, and a couple 17th and last. So, Rob, I think you voted. Did you vote for last in this last year?
I voted 15th, I think, out of 16 last year. Yeah. I kind of thought we could finish last, but I thought, I don't know. It was just, I was supporting Madge, but I just looked at our roster and I thought, man, how are we going to improve? But, there were a couple of games Madge, squeezed a bit of lemon out of everyone and got some extra efforts. But, for this year, I voted last, guys. And I'll reserve a little bit of judgment. Pre-season next year, I'd like to see what the draw is, how many of the strong teams we play twice as opposed to once. If we, we might have a favourable draw, we might not. And I'd also like to see what our roster looks like by the start of next year, because you never know. We might have 3 or 4 more different players to not only Appy and Isaiah that could really help us. So, but as it stands right now, with the roster we've got, with Brooks at halfback, with no other new players coming, I'd put 17th. And, you know, I'm happy to be proven wrong. And I'm sure we can do better, but I'm just not going to get my hopes up anymore.
What about you, Az?
Yeah, I've gotten a little bit hopeful for next season. I didn't want to get too hopeful because I got pretty hopeful about this year, and well, that got shafted in quite spectacular fashion. So I've said 12th. I feel like the signings that we've made and with the boys coming back that we are going to improve. I'd love for it to be by enough to make the top 8, but I feel like coming out of that bottom 4 or in next year bottom 5 up to that 12th mark would be a pretty decent improvement, and then something to build off of, hopefully with a few more signings as well in 2024. And once the squad that we have this year, hopefully including those guys that we want to get re-signed, once they've had a bit of time to gel, then 2024 could be a year of significant improvement. But yeah, I feel like 12th might be a decent medium to start with. At the moment, I see us going better than the Dolphins, but they only have half a squad at this point, so everyone should be better than the Dolphins at the moment.
I'm feeling a preseason. We do a poll heading into the preseason for predictions. I'm hoping by the time we do that, come February, that we've signed someone significant. The cash is all there, so hopefully we would have done something with it by then. I've taking into account, hopefully we get someone half decent. I think we like 8, 9, 10th isn't out of the question. I think that's based on we get someone good and the roster for the most part, the key players all stay healthy for most of the year, which is for everyone. I mean, look at Manly. As soon as Turbo goes down, they fall to shit, or they have a rainbow on their jersey and half their players lose their shit. But like, yeah, it's just a lot can derail a season, especially in that mid pack. It's not those top teams have the depth to kind of truck through them, but we need a little bit of luck, a good signing, and keep our health. I think we can. I honestly think we can turn it around, but that's best case scenario and everything going right. So, hopefully, as I said, we do something with that money and our hopes can get up a little bit more. And re-signing Adam and Jackson as well. If we go into the next season and they're still if they're signed elsewhere to go elsewhere, that could be disastrous as well. But having them locked up will make me feel a little bit better too. So, ask the question, to rate out of 10, will Benji, Sheensy, and Robbie, the coaching combo, will that improve West Tigers? A lot of votes around between 5 and 8 out of 10. So 19% each for 6 and 7. So you could say 38% between 6 and 7, and then another 17% for 5, and then 14.7% for 8. 10 out of 10 for 7.8%, and then no zeros. So
you didn't put 0 on the thing. You went 1 to 10.
Oh, did I? Oh, sorry, 0% for 1. Sorry, no ones. 0% for ones, not 1 for 0. 0 for ones. What do you put as?
Yeah, I said 7. I'm not entirely convinced, but I am hopeful that having that Tiger blood around the club is only going to be good for the club. It's going to be good for those young guys coming through to try and imprint that Tiger DNA into them. Honestly, it can't get much worse than this year unless we get the spoon again, which involves dropping another position. So I'm holding on to a little bit of hope that it is going to improve, and I'd like to believe that if there are Tiger people around to get the job done, it's Benji and Robbie.
Rob?
Yeah, Josh, I put 5 out of 10, but my 5 out of 10 was more like an abstinence. I don't know how they're going to go. I just thought of middle of the ground. I don't know if they're going to go bad. I don't know if they're going to go good. I'm like look, I've made it pretty common knowledge. I'm not a Sheens fan. I really hope Benji and Robbie have a lot more to do with it than Sheens. I just feel Benji gets it more than Sheens, and Sheens is just, a bit too much talk and not enough action. So it can succeed. And I just want to combine this point with just that last topic we just spoke about. And I said it pre-season, guys, I don't think we're going to finish between 9th and 13th for a long time. I actually think if we're ever close enough to the finals, the club is so hungry for success, we make the finals. I don't think we're ever going to come 9th or 10th. And I'm hoping with the Sheens, Benji, Robbie combination next year that we can get off to a decent start, be like 4 wins from our first 7, be within touching distance. And I think we can keep it going if we get that sort of start. But it depends on the roster. It depends on the draw. Like I say, I just hope Sheens is there to protect Benji from the media. I really want Benji running this team.
Yeah, a lot can change come by the end of the summer as well. Righto, West Tigers membership. So basically asked in terms of are you going to sign up next year. 24.1% said they'll always renew. Love my club too much not to, as I think you and I fit into that one. We just keep coming back year after year. Even more of an effort for you, obviously, coming all the way from Orange. 19% said I'm a member, and 22 and undecided. 20.7 said wasn't one this year, won't be next year. I added another one this year. We'll get a membership if management changes are made. 14.7% went for that. 6.9% wasn't one this year, but we'll get one next year, which is surprising. 8 people voted that to go from no member this year to becoming a member next year. Rob, what'd you vote for in this one?
Guess what, Josh? I never saw your additional option.
Oh, really?
So, I voted not a member this year, not a member next year. Guys, I'm busting to become a member. I'm sick of being called out as not loving the club and not supporting the club. And, to all those people that think I don't love the club, go and, what to yourselves, because I love it more than you realise, and to the point that it's affected my health. So, I'm busting to become a member. But unfortunately for me, a club is about the people in it, and our leaders aren't the right leaders, and I don't think we'll be successful till they're gone, and the sooner they're gone, the better. And as I've told you many times, I've made a promise I wouldn't become a member until Pasco's gone, so I've just got to stick by that promise, unfortunately. But I'm busting to be a member and show my support in any way, and but everything we say and do on this show, Josh, is because we love the club and because we want the club to be better. Like it's no fun sitting here at the end of the year saying, told you so, told you so, told you so. But we have shit management, and the proof is there. So until Pasco's gone, at the very least, I won't become a member ever again.
As are you going to get premium season ticket next year? I'm not too sure. The home ground thing, will determine whether I'll go premium. Premium season ticket or not. A lot of it, the reason too, was I kept getting freebies as well. Like obviously, Gussie had us, Shane got me a couple of tickets, especially combat games. So and people offering me the last game of the year. My dad got free tickets, so my premium season tickets only used. I bought 2 seats for premium season tickets. My wife didn't come to us. She only came to one game, but we got free tickets to anyway. So there was literally one game at Campbelltown. I sat across both seats just because to put my big ass, give it a bit of room, because it's pretty like, what's the word I'm looking for?
Then
pretty
you came
cozy.
and joined me in the second half.
Very, that's it. As I moved up to come sit with you, where it was a bit emptier, because there's not a lot of. I'm only 5'8", and there's still not a lot of leg room at the the Campbelltown stand. But anyway, yeah, I'm not too sure what membership I'll get, but I'll be there next year. I'll go to every single home game. Put myself through the pain again. What about you guys?
This might surprise you, but as much as I love the club and everything like that, I'm in the 19% that said I'm a member and undecided. Sorry. As much as I love the club and as much as I want to renew going into next year, I've really also got to consider the effect that this season had on my mental health at a lot of times. And that was pretty poor. I traveled up for 12 games, 10 of those were for my membership, and I went home a winner just twice. So it's a long trip to do both ways, roughly 7 hours, to come home a loser 10 out of 12 times, and then dealing with a lot of the stuff at work that I dealt with by supporters of other teams. It was just a really, really challenging year for the mental health side of things, and I've really got to consider that going forward. I probably will still renew, but I do have to have a bit of a sit down and think in that regard about what membership I do sign up for. And like you, the home ground situation may have a bit of an influence on what membership I do end up getting.
Next question. Speaking of home grounds, what should our home ground ratio be? So 47.4% said six Campbelltown, 6 Leichhardt. 33.6 said mostly Campbelltown, some Leichhardt, and then a couple of votes for mostly Leichhardt, some Campbelltown, and then a little bit for 4 each at Campbelltown, Leichhardt, and Bankwest, which we were currently doing. And then a couple said 4 each at Campbelltown, Leichhardt, and Allianz. Would you go on this one, Rob?
Yeah, I went mostly Campbelltown, Josh, but I'm happy with a 50-50 split. I really, and I guess with what's going on next year, as you said, with the women's soccer World Cup, I mean, that could influence how many games we get at both as well. So, look, I'll travel to Campbelltown or Leichhardt. It doesn't bother me. I just want to see my team have a go and be competitive,
Absolutely.
So, yeah, so it really doesn't matter. I'd probably venture out to Combank as well if we had to, having been there, because it is a good ground to watch the game from, to my surprise this year. So
there you go.
Yeah.
As?
Yeah, I said the same as Rob. Mostly Campbelltown, some Leichhardt. I agree completely that with the catchment area out there and the junior base, that is probably the area we need to start going to playing most of our games at. I agree that a 50-50 split wouldn't be too bad an idea, but we've got potentially Magic Round. I think most clubs are still going to take a game regional or rural or whatever. So we've got Tamworth for that. So
yeah,
I mean, as close to a 50-50 split as we can get with those extra games here and there.
I didn't take those into consideration. It was you're right. It would probably end up being a 5-5 split or 3-3-4 or something. 3-3.
I think with the Campbelltown games, Josh, we've got to put a bit more effort into making it more attractive to go to the game, whether it be the timing of the game, whether instead of having 6 o'clock Friday game, try and make it Sunday afternoon, try and have a game on before it, maybe do a bit more in terms of entertainment. They've just got to try and make it more attractive for people to go there. Like, I'll go there regardless. I unfortunately, I only went to 6 games this year, which are our home games, and 3 of them were Campbelltown. 1 was at Leichhardt and 2 were at Combank. So actually, half the games I went to were at Campbelltown. So it doesn't deter me from going there, but it doesn't seem to attract other people to go there, whether it's, the fuel or the toll or whatever the case may be. People just don't seem to want to go out there. We've just got to make it really attractive. Even have a day where tickets are half price, or you let kids under 13 in for free or something. Just pack the ground out for a few weeks and make some atmosphere. Not like that last game against Newcastle. There was just no atmosphere. It was just awful. It was awful to be a part of.
The team being good, I think, will be the main factor in that. It's just it's a lot of effort for most people to get out, effort and cost to get out there, and you're not going to put that effort and cost in if the team's shit.
But Josh, the team was shit when we beat Canterbury this year at Leichhardt. The team was shit when we
Mm.
beat Penrith without their Origin stars last year at Leichhardt. There's just, I mean, I know there are, you know, we lost to the Cowboys there as well. I'm not saying it's all good at Leichhardt, but Leichhardt seems to be more tribal at the moment. And I'm the one, a Balmain supporter, pushing for more games at Campbelltown. But, like, it just seems like there's more anger at Leichhardt. There's more passion at Leichhardt. There's more hostile. Like, even if it's booing the team off at 42-0, whether people agree with that stuff or not, it's just more, there's just more passion. And we need to get that out at Campbelltown. I didn't see that this year. And maybe it's because it was smaller crowds or the team wasn't performing. But we played New Zealand, and who was the other team we played out there? We had narrow losses there, and the crowd wasn't as loud as it could have been. I don't know who it was. It was early in the year. We lost to Gold Coast. New Zealand. Yeah, New Zealand. Like, we should have won both those games. And I think those games we might have got home at Leichhardt, you know, just based on the crowd or influencing the referee. All those little things add up.
Yeah, Leichhardt's got the nostalgia factor, I guess. And I guess just a high population density.
Perhaps.
Yeah, more people live closer to Leichhardt. Yeah.
There's also more parking, and it's a bit easier to get to. Leichhardt can be a bit of a, especially for bigger crowds, Leichhardt can be a bit more troublesome to get to because you've only got the street parking since they've closed down the school and aren't using that anymore, which makes things a bit more complicated in that regard too.
Yeah.
Although I've been parking in the hospital next door, not realizing for so many years that you can do that, but it was pretty easy to park. I parked literally around the corner from the stadium the last game of the year because the crowds weren't that big, so which was handy. My 2-year-old didn't have to walk as far. But yeah, Campbelltown is definitely, if the journey, it's all freeway for most of Sydney to get there, so it's not an effort, but it is cost, tolls and stuff. I get it, but yeah, it's an easy ground to go to. You got the Leagues Club next door for a feed as well. Yeah, I love going to Campbelltown as well. You mentioned the time slots, Rob. Obviously, the NRL, the TV picks that, not the club. So yeah,
sure.
it sucks. The 6 p.m. Friday slot is dumb. Get rid of it and bring in Monday night footy or something. I don't get it. The whole tradies knock off work to watch the footy at the pub time slot. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about you guys, but it gets to 6:30 and I'm like, oh shit, there's footy on, and you kind of miss half the game, the 6 o'clock game. I don't know, unless obviously if the Tigers are playing, but that you have it on. Maybe because I don't know. Maybe because it's dinner time for my son or something. It's kind of the footy started kind of thing. But
I'm lucky to get home from work in time for the 6 o'clock one on Friday.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. I don't understand how it'd rate. Like even Sunday night, you think would rate better than 6 o'clock. Like why not do Sunday night games instead of? Yeah. Anyway,
I see how it works for teams like the Warriors with the time zone difference where they're 2 hours ahead of us. So 6 o'clock for us is 8 o'clock for them. So maybe if they regularly get that time slot, it's probably not a terrible idea. But for other teams that aren't those guys, it doesn't make as much sense.
Well, make it if the Warriors get that time slot, like I don't know, be flexible. I guess you can't really screw around and have some 6 p.m. Fridays and some not, but I don't know. It sucks. I hate it. And when the West Tigers, yeah, obviously giving it to a Campbelltown game. This year, was it this year or last year? Leichhardt got one. Was it last year?
No, this year against Canterbury.
Yeah, that's right. You and I.
We went to the club after the game. Remember, we went to West Ashfield.
That's right. We did too. It was
Manly and Para, was it?
Yeah.
Green
yeah, that's right.
Good game too. That was.
Yeah. What is your West Tigers supporter heritage? 56.9% was Balmain, now West. 17.2% was West, now or West Magpies, now West Tigers. 16.4% said I'm too young to even remember Balmain or Tigers. Balmain or Magpies, sorry. 9.5%. I became a West Tigers fan, but didn't support either pre-2000, which is obviously you and then Rob, you and I are old geriatrics, and we were Balmain Tigers fans back in the day before we went in. So I think these numbers changed a little bit since last year, a bit more Balmain than the last time we asked that question.
I agree.
But,
it was much more even last year.
Yeah, I mean we're only surveying 116 of the few 100,000 West Tigers fans, so luck of the draw, I guess. So I asked favourite sporting team outside other than the West Tigers. I was hoping the data will kind of find some teams and kind of back in, but it's literally I'm not going to go for 105 different teams. I was hoping that if you spell it correctly, to kind of say which ones were popular, but people spell them different, and so it kind of just muddled up. But I did ask also. I don't know if anyone's interested in these. I just find interesting what other people do with their time outside of West Tigers as well. So, which sports league do you watch outside of NRL? The highest was EPL, 47. So almost half of our voters watch EPL. 45% watch international cricket. Next highest was a lot of cricket fans. BBL, 33%. AFL, 30%. I know you boys, Rob, you're a Richmond fan, and as you're an excited Swans fan heading into next weekend, 27.5% watch F1. What else we got? Other. I don't know what I left out of the list. 22% said other, but I'm sure horse. Oh, I didn't put horse racing. I guess that. Trying to think what leagues I didn't put in there. NBA 31.2, NFL, any NFL 38.5. So, nearly 40% NFL fans as well. So, yeah, I don't get people that, don't watch more than one sport. I don't know. I'm a sports nut. I'd go. What do I watch? F1, Supercars, NBA, NFL. They're both international, and BBL cricket as well. What about you, Az?
Yeah, I ticked 4 boxes there. I said AFL, BBL, international cricket, and NFL, which I only sort of started trying to watch last year. NFL confuses me because it's really slow moving. It's very stop and start, so I'm not that into it, but I'm going to try to get a bit more into it. And we'll go from there. You are 100% correct about me being excited about the Swans. I'm very much looking forward to cheering for them on Saturday evening. I think that's going to be a cracking game against Collingwood, and hopefully they can make it back to their first grand final since 2016.
In terms of NFL, I get the best way to get around that it's too slow thing is to find out a way to watch Red Zone on a Monday morning because they have several games going at once, and a guy basically hosts a show and they jump between games and they tell you, so you're kind of watching several games at once. So it's non-stop, no ads, no breaks, nothing. They just cut between different games, and you get it's the best way to to watch it. If you don't have, you kind of want to get into it. It's pretty cool. The fact that there's multiple games going on at once. It's that's cool. I'm stoked the NFL's back as of this weekend. So, what about you, Rob?
Yeah, I think I might have marked 4 sports there. I definitely marked AFL because my second favourite team is the Richmond Tigers. Like, I've loved Balmain and Richmond since I was a little boy. So I marked AFL. I marked the NFL, which we almost got an NFL length game yesterday with the Souths and the Roosters game. That just dragged out so long. That was NFL meets rugby league meets WWE. That was crazy. I marked NBA. I love watching the NBA, and I tend to watch a lot of the Major League Baseball come the finals. They are just so nerve-wracking when you get in the 8th and 9th innings and the game's on the line, literally one pitch can change a game, and I love the Boston Red Sox. So there's quite a few sports there. I've actually toned down on a lot of sports. Probably 20 years ago, you could have marked me down for 10-pin bowling and lawn bowls, So I've just had to. I used to watch F1, but I just don't have time for all that. I can't stay up late and do all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, it's tough. The F1 a few years ago was 10 p.m. our time, and they've moved it to 11, just so it's a bit friendlier for America to get up and watch it, which is annoying. So 11, when it started at 10, finished at midnight, you could cop it. Now it's 11. I fall asleep. And now NFL's on. I get up early and watch the replay, the F1 and the NFL side by side. Benjamin said, I forgot to put rugby union in there. Whoops.
Good one.
I only played it for 7 years. I forgot to put, what's it called? I don't even know what it's called now. What is Super Rugby called? It's called...
No idea.
It was Super 12 when I was a kid.
I just thought of something else I could have ticked other for as well.
A few people mentioned MMA. I'm sorry. I've included motorsport, so yeah, maybe I should have included the fighting. So, the list could have been so long in hindsight, but sorry to all the grapple fans out there. But
I play a bit of pool in a few local comps in town, so I tend to try and catch up on a little bit of pool and snooker if I can. I'll be trying to catch the Mosconi Cup when that gets played. I think it's in December, so that's something I could have probably ticked other for if I had remembered at the time.
So all the feedback stuff, we won't bore everyone with that. That was kind of for us, and we really appreciate everyone that gave us their honest feedback. Most of it, even in the negative column, there was a lot of positive things. So we really appreciate everyone telling us what they thought about the show, and the three of us or four of us with Shane as well, kind of going through your answers and that sort of thing, and what you guys liked and all your compliments, and plenty of feedback, criticism that we'll take on board as well. I know my internet connection popped up a couple of times. That there was a couple of weeks where, my internet was ruining the show, so I apologise to everyone. But overall, we really appreciate everyone filling that in, all of our listeners being with us. A lot of people were saying that they found us mid-season and they've stuck around. So, and then there was a few people voted they've listened for the last few years. So we appreciate you all joining in. Tell your friends and get them on board. So, Super Rugby Pacific. Thanks, Ben. Is that what it's called now? I would not have guessed. You give me 100 guesses, I wouldn't have guessed that. I guess since COVID, they've changed it a little bit as well. But I don't live in the eastern suburbs, so I don't hear much about rugby union. But thanks to everyone out there. Man, 2 hours and 7 minutes tonight. These polls, but it's provide such good content, so I appreciate everyone filling it out. Boys, I'll let you guys go to bed. Thanks for everyone to join us live. The Tigers aren't even in season. We've still got a few dozen of you joining us live as well, so we really appreciate sticking with us late into the evening, talking about this team that gives us so much heartache and they're not even playing. Righto, boys. Anything else to add before we go?
No, Josh, just thanks for doing this survey and the other polls you've done in the last couple of weeks, because it is good feedback and it gives us a lot of topics to talk about. So thanks for everything you do for the show, mate. It's been great.
Yeah.
A lot of people said they've enjoyed the live shows and interacting. They love that we interact with our listeners, and we strive to be a pod that or show that is one for the fans. You guys, we have you guys on the vent pods and contributing because at the end of the day, like the three of us can only talk so much trying to be experts. We don't really think of ourselves as experts. We give our opinions and that sort of thing, but we want to give as many West Tigers fans a voice as possible. So
100%.
yeah,
That's
we
what
love
the show's
you all.
about.
Absolutely. Righto, boys and girls, time to hit the hay. And as always, boys, go the Tigers.
Go the Tigers.
Go the Tigers.
You're listening to another episode of the Westlife podcast. As always, we are sponsored by West Ashfield Leagues Club and as well as MG Pump Solutions. If you could please subscribe if you'd love to hear us again. We're going to have episodes twice a week, every week this season, Mondays and Thursdays. So we're going to, as the season rolls in, be sure to catch us every week. And if you can, give us a like on the socials. So at Westlife Pod on Instagram and Twitter. Search for Westlife Podcast on Facebook. And if you'd like to take part in the show, patreon.com/Westlife. It's just a couple of bucks a month to help grow the show. We'll see you again next time on the Westlife Podcast.